So, hello again, fellow T.K.Es. Going to enjoy yourselves listening a little bit to the stories of SIPUREI from Rabbi Kodesh. We're getting very close to the end of chapter 2. That is a story number 2. So we have to think a little bit about what it is that is actually happening and who it is that we're really talking about. The thing is, look at the simplest way to be able to see this is the inside of us is a line of tremendous kedusha. And it goes through and it permeates from top to bottom every single part of our lives. But on the other hand, the permeation is in our bodies, and our bodies are full of different kinds of passions which are not necessarily healthy. And around us, particularly in the back of us, are different criticisms, things that are moving us different ways, called the kali or the klipos. We call it in Kabbalah they call it kali. I don't want to say the word out. It's a world of trouble, but on the inside is purity, absolute purity. And as we see before, we see many times in the classes, and we're going to start hearing more and more from Rabbi Memran, the different kinds of things that he's saying is that our main goal in life is to be able to find a way to cling to that purity that's inside of us, living in the middle of the poison of the serpent. So listen to what Rabbi Nachman is saying about this line of perfection sailing through this world. There's tremendous secrets in here that can only touch the beginnings of it. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is, like I did the last time, is I'm going to read the Aryeh Kaplan, and incidentally, I've been reading his English book on MAASIOT, on Sefer HaYetzirah. It's a very advanced book. I'm not sure how easy it is for anybody who just picked up this book. Not because there's magic in the book, but because in order to access the hidden parts of it, you need a background to be able to understand these things. He is a person tremendously respected by myself and by my teachers. And let's read what he has to say over here. So the captain of the ship is Shena, dressed in the clothing of a man, has just shot down some debauchers who were the king was having a big orgy on his boat. And he had to climb up to the top to show, again, you have this concept of the Oline, but just like there's a line, a tremendous line of Kedusha that exists in the world, it exists inside of us and inside of every single thing. So there's another reflection of it. And a lot of times we can't tell the difference between which it is, and that's the side of Tuma. But it also has a mast, high place that it wants us to reach. And remember that she took some kind of a glass or a reflection thing and burnt his brain, and he fell into the ocean. She calculated that he should fall into the ocean too. All of that is important if we had enough time to be able to go all to the different kind of things that are going on here, what the different metaphors could possibly be. At any rate, this is where we come now. And now they fished this king, their king, out of the water, and he's dead. And so the story reads in English like this. The men located the body and took him out of the water. The emperor's daughter, who was the ship's captain and looks like a man, felt the dead king's pulse. She felt his pulse with her hand and announced that his brain was burned. They opened his head, exposing his brain, and they thought that she was right. There was a little barbecue inside of his head. They were dumbfounded. The men asked her to go home with them, where she would be the king's personal physician. She could be very important and have high status. You think that's important to the Shena? She demurred, saying that she was not really a physician, but merely had certain local specialized knowledge. The men on the king's ship, however, did not want to return home. They were afraid. So the two ships sailed alongside each other. The royal ministers decided that it would be a really good thing if their queen would marry the physician, since they saw that he had very great wisdom. The ministers of the king's sons who fell and died though that they thought that the emperor's daughter and her ladies were men, since they were wearing sailors' clothes, or they were wearing men's clothing. Therefore, they wanted their queen, the wife of the king's son, who had just died, to marry the physician. What does it mean? It means that you could dress something up in this world. That's one of the reasons why I always wear these shirts. Because, I don't know, it was a college thing that we were college kids and we wanted to be like working people, so we got their shirts at Goodwill, whatever. But the fact of the matter is that if I was wearing a rabbi's, a big black hat, you know, and had a real long beard, it looked different. You have a different attitude about who I am. It's the same thing is true here. The Mekubalim Kol Chitzonius, because we live, which just means outsideism, outsideness, on the outsides and the skirts of everything, in the most physical place possible. That's where we live. And so subsequently, that's part of the poison atmosphere, that we can't see the truth, because the truth is everywhere, all the time. And only a fool would deny it. But the world is a foolish world, because every bit of Kedusha has a counterpart on the other side. So therefore, they wanted their queen, the wife of the king's son, who had just died, to marry the physician, who was really the emperor's daughter. That's what we said. They thought that she was a physician because she had the wisdom to understand that the brain of the royal prince who fell had been burned. It's a really weird story, man. If the physician would do this, he would be their king, because anybody who would marry the queen, you know, is king. They would kill their elderly king, because they had to get him out of the way. They'd bump him off. The royal ministers wanted this very much. They really wanted this shidduch between, because there's something incredibly attractive to the force of filth that exists in our world for Kedusha. They can't have it. They try to kill it, but they can't, because without it, the world doesn't exist. But they found it impossible to say anything to the queen about marrying the physician. But they found it very difficult to say anything about marrying the physician. The queen also thought that it would be very good to marry the physician. She thought that, you know, hey, this would be a good deal for me too, especially. Queen, she's the malchus of the other side. But she was afraid that the nation would not want him as their king. So, what are they going to do about that? Let's listen a little bit of what Rav Schick has to say on this part. Now, let's see if we can learn a shtickle Musar, a shtickle Torah, that we can get a little bit of an idea. So let me see. So this Rav Schick starts over here on this phrase. If you have this book, comes in different colors, so if you might have one of the colored versions of it, see what he wants to tell us, what Rav Schick understands Rabbeinu Kodesh wants to tell us over here. And it starts like this. Let me see if there's below Ratzu, that is the Anshas Zvina Shel HaMelech, the people that were debauching on this boat with the king and the queen, and they had their clothes off and so on and so forth. And he went up on top of the mast, and then he got whacked. Lachso the basin, they want to go back because the king is dead. They were out there. So therefore, he says, this I'm reading the Hebrew, Shteis Finis B'yachad, the two boats went together. So now Rav Schick writes on this, below Ratzu, they didn't want to go, that is, the people that were on the trip didn't want to go back. Ki pachtu ma'od, Machmas Melech said they thought they were very frightened. That when they got back and the old king would see that his son was dead, they would get killed. And then somehow they figured, well, this is going to be okay. We'll go with the other boat, the two boats together. How does that work? And they thought this was a good idea. They all traveled together. So this is going back to the idea that they thought this is how you do this. We traveled together. Then who explained this doctor is just a tremendously powerful, wonderful person. It's just fantastic. We'll find a way to get him to marry the actual queen, and then we'll really have this doctor who's so wonderful will be the head of us. Because of the tremendous amount of chachma that he saw in it, because his princes and the nobleman of this king who wound up dead, he fell and he's dead. That he thought that all these, the daughter of the emperor and all of the princesses that were there, they thought they were men. Because they were wearing men's clothes. So there's this whole idea here, men's clothes, why do you need to change the clothes? I like my idea over there. It has to do with Kitzonius and how the perception of a person changes so tremendously according to the clothing that they wear. If you can get yourself some real expensive duds, everybody will think you're worth a lot. On the other hand, if you dress like a bum, everybody think you don't worth anything. You're not worth anything. And I've known people, I guess a lot have, that people who dress like a bum because they have lots of cash around. And who's going to rob a bum? Not exactly a bum, but they don't look flush. You get the opposite too. The people that are up and coming, they got to show off. So therefore, they wanted that the queen, Shehi Eshes ben Amelech Shemeis Tisa, as the doctor, that she should marry the doctor. Shehi be'emes Bas Keser, which is in fact the daughter of the emperor. Shechoyet Savurim Shehi a doctor. So they thought there was a doctor. Let me try to see if I can just read Rav Schick in the easy part, that is the light print. This is a different idea. The concept of maleness, according to the Rav, is the male, and it's really brought down in great detail in the Eitz Chaim and all different kinds of places, that the aspect which is called a male is a giver. And you see this in this Garden of Peace, and she really loved this book so much, and it really did help me a lot in my marriage, is that to be able to understand that if you can be a giver, then you could fulfill the masculine attribute. Everybody has both attributes because we're both givers. We're both givers and receivers. So sometimes we're this, sometimes we're that, and all of that is inside of us, of course. But primarily, if you have a man, a physical man and a physical woman, the man is going to give to her because she's empty, she's barren, and when she has a husband, that's the concept of husbandry, she can become fulfilled in the chest that she bears children. All of that, she's a receiver. So she's a receiver. So here he says, what does it mean that when she puts on male clothing? He says something different than what I said. He says, because this makes her a mashpia, giver. So all of the princesses that were with her, she also made them into givers too. He bum mitzad kedusha, because that's what kedusha is like. Kedusha is wants to give. Kedusha is kindness, or kedusha is on the side of the right. The kedusha is dominantly mashpia, is what Rav Schick is saying. So they wanted to be givers because of the fact that they were living the side of kedusha. They wanted to be givers and not takers. But the king, the guy that fell into the ocean, they're the exact opposite. All they want to do is take. It was full of debauchery, orgy. So now take a look at it. See what actually happens to these people as a result of all of the debauchery and all the orgy that they were going through. Until they wanted that the Bas Keser, who they think is a male, Shem Choshvish as their doctor, they thought this was a doctor, a male doctor. That's how messed up that you could get, so that you can't tell the difference between sexes. I mean, isn't the Shekhinah still a woman? But the Shekhinah wants to be a giver, and the Shekhinah, then we understand now the Shekhinah actually has different aspects. Shekhinah is a Malchus. That's a definition. The Malchus and Silus is Shekhinah. The Malchus of any level is a Shekhinah. But the matter of the fact is that on the other side, let's say there's a bottom to that malchus. On the other side of that is going to be another parts of. It's going to be a recipient of what that Shekhinah had to give, and that's the concept of Kesser. The aspect of the Kesser of the Shekhinah forms the Kesser of the next world, and so on and so forth. That's the idea. It's a female, but when it gives, it becomes the Zachar. That this would become their king. That's the Melech Shalachem, and then their king, Yahargo, they'll kill him. That's what he says. Let's see what Rav Shek says. He says, "Berega shematirim as atzman liyisloitzes v'liyos chai hululos." The moment that this group of people decided they were going to debauch an orgy, that's all that they wanted to do and live a life like that. Gavar matirim as damal shalusheni. They're not going to know the difference if they start killing a few people. Say, for example, they're going to kill the old king because he's going to stand in their way. And you know what they have to do is have this party all the time. And you can't have that without the doctor, and you can't have that if the king's going to stop him. The rabbis say like this. It's a pasuk in Yerushalmi, Brachos Perak Aleph, Halacha Chet, says, Kashehi aletzanos. This hates letzanos, which is orgying. When you see the Rebbe in many different places use the words letzanos. So there's a little story, maybe you can tell it here. Let me see. At the beginning, they start out with pain, with punishment. In the end, they're completely destroyed. That's what happens to them. But they're coming back again because the sun keeps turning, and every generation, same thing happens. First they start in pain. And he quotes the Pasuk in Yeshaya. So he says, Yeshaya says, and now, don't start partying like this. He says, litzos, debauching. Because what happens is when you get out of hand in that way, then all of the things that could hurt you, the afflictions that could come onto you, they're going to come. And in the end, you're dead. You have no connection to the next world, no connection to eternity at all. Here's another pasuk. So he says, Kaliya means the destruction ends. The Nechritza and was made devastated. Shemati me'esavaya, that I heard this from Hashem. Savakos ose bekerev kol haaretz. He does this in the inside of the whole world. The rabbis also write later that Rabbeinu HaKodesh Siver is Banov. There's a little story. The Rabbeinu HaKodesh, he let me see, it was a Rabbeinu HaKodesh. Yes, Rabbeinu HaKodesh commanded his children, Al Tidura B'Shech Siv. Let me see if I got this. Shenksiv. Don't live in a place called Shenksiv. I don't know if it's a place or if it's a region or what it is. Because these are the people with the bars are going crazy and the debauchery is going on all the time. Because if your neighbors and everybody that's around you is doing this, you'll get involved in it as well. There's a place called Sheksniv. The whole series was a party series. City. Below Ratzo Shabanav Yaguru Sham, he didn't want his children to live there. So they wouldn't get pulled in at all either. Oh, they're holy, all right, but the trouble is, you got to work. So what are you going to do? You're going to be with these people. You're going to be working with them. Because this is the shell, the false image that is so difficult. Because the Latzanas takes any little spark of Kedusha that a person has, takes it out of him. And it makes, what does it take? The Yira, he says, the Yira Shemayim, he calls the fear of heaven. Until already you can kill other people. How do people become murderers, professional murderers? What are they doing in their spare time when they're not murdering somebody? They're doing this. Party people. Mobsters. So therefore, a person has to really work hard to seek from Hashem Yisborach Yisrachet from all many letzonos, to keep him far away from all of the big time parties and bar rooms and etc. 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 The rabbis say over this Shir Shirim Rabbah Parsha Rishon Siman Kaf Aleph Ma Hashem and Ezera Bekos Mole Enem Zarzif Kashar Hamashkin. So he says to take a cup of oil, and you notice that when you start to pour it, it pours very slowly and it's very difficult to deal with. So the same thing is, I missed something. The same thing is true of the words of Torah. You can't pour it into something which is debauchery. If your life is in a bar room, it's going to be very hard to learn over there. It doesn't mean it's impossible. Rabbeinu Kodesh wants to let us know that everybody can get out. So you have a glass full of oil, and it's in your hand. A little bit of water falls into it. And it pushes out a little bit of oil that's in it. It spills over a little bit of oil. The same thing is true if a little bit of Torah comes into your heart. Then what happens is it comes out, corresponding to it is a little bit of zanos. So you put a little Torah in your heart, a little bit of the desire to get wild leaves too. The opposite is also true. Niknas alev davar shal litzanos. So you have a ear raw. You're thinking of doing this, whatever. Yotze kenegda davar shal Torah. Then it loses a little bit Torah. Okay, we're going to stop here. Try to pick it up next time.